final episode of Let's Make a Mermaid. I'm almost finished with her, and I just want to show you up close what these paints look like. You can see that, and maybe on top of her head you could see it better. They're just gorgeous. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the paints a little bit later. I have a step that I have to do, and I want you to see how I do it. I take my 2-part epoxy and I mix up a little batch, which I've already started, putting it into the hole of my tail. And I wanted you to see this part because I have to let this dry, and then I'll get to the paints, how I did it and what to use. And then all we have to do is put her tail on, finish this part up, and I took her makeup off. I'm going to maybe do something a little bit different. I'm not sure, but it will be all, you'll see the finished doll. But you want to pack that epoxy in there really good. Because I want that fin to really stay in, and trust me, this epoxy will. Now, I have just taken some stockings, and it was white, and basically just made a shape that I wanted. I bunched it up, and it was kind of like what a leaf would be, and I just went ahead and I just use any kind of paints that you have. And then I took a lighter and I just burned the edges until I just kept playing with it until I got something that I wanted. Then of course you'll have your wire inside so you can move it around. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to put it right into that hole. And I want to just take that epoxy. I don't want to go completely over that wire. I want it like right up to the back because I want to be able to bend it. And then, just look underneath, check underneath it, which I will go ahead and put some epoxy right on the back. And I'll just keep working that onto the tail, not the fin. I'm not working the epoxy on the fabric. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work that all in, but I wanted you to see that part, and then it's going to dry, and then I'll come back on video and I'll show you the rest. Okay everyone, I have her tail all decorated and everything, but it's still wet, and I want to get into the paints so that you know what it is that I used, but I want to show you what I have done with the tail. Now I'm not going to move it around or anything because it is still wet. I went ahead and I just put my paints on the end of it, and I put some little like water colored micro beads, and actually I'm going to let these set just a little longer, and I think I'm going to add a few more in there, but right now it needs to set. So what I did, and I'll try to bring it up to the camera, is I just took my my clay and I basically sculpted these little sea foliage I call them. And I just decorated it all around the center of the tail. I wanted to kind of incorporate the tail design a little bit into the tail, but I didn't want the tail to be all clay because I thought that it would have been too much. So I thought by doing it the way that I did, I really like it. I'm glad that I didn't go with total clay. I like the two of the textures, the pantyhose and the clay. So I wanted to show you that. Now I'm going to show you the paints, and I have a piece of clay in the oven, so if you're hearing something in the background, it's the oven. But I'm cooking up a piece of clay, and I'm going to show you how these paints work. Okay, what they are. Okay. They're called Pebeo, and I'm using the Prisme Fantasy. I used to purchase these at Hobby Lobby, but Michael's has been carrying it. They're like $7.99 a bottle, so figure 8 something. And what I do is I take my coupon in at least every week just to get a percentage off of one bottle. That's how I have gotten my collection of colors. And then if they have a sale running to where there's a percentage off of your entire purchase, then that's when I will go and I will buy a variety more of colors. They are pretty pricey, but I have to say the colors, what they produce and everything, to me, they are so well worth it. I love these. I love the colors and everything. Okay, now, if you go on here on YouTube and type in the Pebeo Prisme, they have a moon, and there's another one, and I can't recall because I really use the Fantasy, the Prisme Fantasy. The moon has a little bit different look to it. I just found that the Fantasy one is the one that I really like, and that's just the one that I just stock up on. Okay, what it does is it actually, when you put it down on your clay, the paint starts to separate, and that's how you get a design. To me, it's kind of like if you're looking under a microscope and you were looking at cells. And then as you drop down each color, that's when it gets a marble look. It can get a streaky look. I mean, you really don't know how it's going to turn out. But the thing that I want to tell you, there's actually two things. In order for these paints to work, you must stir it. The stuff settles down on the bottom, and when you stir it, you'll feel it. It'll be real thick. Stir it real good, because if you don't, your paints won't produce what they are made to produce. The other thing is, I found that when you leave the caps off, your paint will start to do its own thing right in the jar. So I just want you to be aware of this. If you have not used these paints, keep this in mind to keep that lid on. Don't let it sit out for a period of time. You know, if you're going to take the paint out of the bottle, put it on your item, and then do some more, you're okay. But just don't let it be sitting there and then working with another color, because what it does is it starts to thicken, and you want the paint to stay kind of runny. The other thing I wanted to also share with you is that these paints are made to you basically take the paint and you kind of like pour it onto your item. And they have a plastic little eyedropper that you get with it, and you use it that way. Well, I use it with a paintbrush because I am applying this paint in a different way. So what happens is it ruins my paintbrushes. Don't use your good paintbrushes. Keep that in mind. Try to think of something that you can come up with that will work for you to put the paint on it, and you're going to end up throwing it away. To me, that's not the paint's fault with that, because they're not saying to put it on with a paintbrush. That is my own, because I am doing something different with the medium that they have made for us. And I also want to mention that I am not sponsoring anyone with this. I just love these paints. The colors are gorgeous. Okay, now I'm going to just show you. I've already stirred these up, but just by this sitting, I just want to shake it, give it a good shake. And I'm going to try to show you the colors. And if I get that light on there, let's see. I mean, that is just gorgeous. Okay, now that's one. And then they call this a turquoise, but I always call it kind of like a teal. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. And then this one here, I believe it's called Buttercup. And this is gorgeous. I mean, it's so bright and brilliant. Look at that. You know, I wish you could really see, you know, in person, because it's different when you're looking at it yourself. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out my piece from the oven, and I'm going to show you how to apply the paints to it. But the one thing that I do want to say here is that it takes time for the paint to do its own thing. So I'm not going to have it sitting on camera and trying to make it do its own thing. Basically, this is going to just show you how I applied it, and then you're going to have to just see the amazing look that you get when these paints start separating, because the longer that they set, they really start breaking up. Okay, I'm going to get my piece out of the oven and I'll be right back. Everyone, I've got the camera up or down so that we can see it as close as we can. And I'm just going to show you how I applied the paint. And I started off with this, and see how my paintbrush is? Now I've cleaned that with paint thinner, acetone, and you see how what it does. Don't use it on paintbrushes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a good amount You kind of want to have like a puddle. And it's kind of like a free form paint. So it's kind of like just put the paint where you want it. And these paints do take about 24 hours to dry. At least for me, I have found in 24 hours I can handle it. Okay, I think I've got enough. And also I found that with these paints that you can, after it's dried, if you feel like it needs more color, you can go back and do the same thing. Now I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this so that I don't get the color in my next bottle. Okay, let's see what we can do. Now I'm just going to kind of like drop it, try to move it. Whoops, I needed more. You know, just whatever. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this buttercup in. I'll put all the colors down into the description. It's really unlimited to what you can really do with these paints. And I'm going to show you a piece that I actually, when I was researching out these paints, I always experiment because I want to see if it's going to have some kind of a reaction with my clay. And I actually did a piece. I'm going to show you. I still have it and what it looks like. To give you, I should have written when I did it, but it's been a while. Okay, can you see how that's just kind of like moving around? Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put just a little bit of this turquoise and just drop it right in there. And maybe right in there. You know, it's however the color that you're really going for. Okay, I'm going to show you the piece that I did while that's setting. Now, this is done. Excuse my hands. When I was doing the tail, when I was burning, I burned myself. But this is on Kato clay, and look at this. Absolutely hasn't done anything to it. Hard like glass, smooth like glass. See all the swirls in it? Now I wasn't too impressed with the way that I was doing my colors, but I was really experimenting. I didn't know really what they were going to do. The inside of it, the clay, it's not eaten through it or anything. Now the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because when I did this experiment, I started to hear where people said that it would never dry on their clay, and there was just some other problems. I found that after they said what clay they were using, I found that I was using different brands, and the brands that I've used this on is Kato, Fimo, and Cernet, and I've had no problems with all three of those. There's many different brands out there, so whatever brand that you're using, I will always suggest this in every video. Please experiment on a piece of clay before you put it on your finished doll or whatever it is that you're making. I think that they're just gorgeous. It's unlimited to what you can do with these. Okay. Now let's see what this is doing. I'm going to see if I can bring my camera without it losing the focus. You see how it's starting to break up like cells? Okay. All right, let me go back to, okay, there. You see how it's breaking up with cells? Now, if I were to go in there right now, and let's say I wanted to move my paint around, don't do it. Because on the top, it's like if I were to touch it, it would like be like string a little bit. And it'll just, you'll lose the whole effect of what it's supposed to do. Let it dry. Go back in, put more paint where you want it. Okay, I think that was it. And I want to thank everyone that has followed this tutorial. And I also want to thank everyone that has supported me with my art channel. My desire, my hope, my dreams have been to help anyone find something that we all have in ourselves, to have the courage, to have the patience, and to believe in themselves that they can do this. I never thought that I could ever pick up a piece of clay and sculpt. And it's not true. Anybody can. It takes time and it takes practice. You have to be patient with yourself. Everyone that you do, you can only get better. A lot of people I have come across to where they'll start to do it. They don't like their look, they don't like anything about it, and they stop right in the middle of it. Don't go that way. You've got to keep going, because when you stop, then you come back and you pick it up, you're right where you pretty much left off. So just keep going with it and keep practicing. Don't get discouraged. So everyone, thank you so much. And after this, you will see the photos of the finished mermaid. Thank you so much.